In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this stylish underbust flea dress. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So this dress is from Classic Chic Lux. So without much wasting time, let's dive right into today's video. Now for this pattern to start, we're going to be starting off with the back pattern, which is the part that has the zipper. So here is the zipper, and what you need for this pattern is just your shoulder to bust, your shoulder to under bust, and your shoulder to waist. Now you have to find the full length of this dress, and you're going to deduct your shoulder to bust and shoulder to you're going to deduct your shoulder to waistline from it. Now my shoulder to waistline is 17 inches. Now let's say the full length of this dress is 50. Now if I deduct 17 inches from it, the lower part I'll be cutting it in form of a flea. Now I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2, and I'll come down by 1 inch. Now I'll just go ahead to mark my shoulder slant because this dress is strapless and also my shoulder is not on a straight line. Now I will go ahead to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, which I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line. Now I'll mark back my shoulder measurement there. Now I'm going to go ahead to connect. So I won't be drawing my armhole curve because for the back pattern it will just stop at the chest line. Now what I'll do for the back pattern, I'll be cutting it in form of a dartless pattern where I'll just mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and go ahead to add my sewing allowance. Here I'll go ahead to mark my waist circumference divided by 4, my under bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add my sewing allowance. Now you can use any sewing allowance of your choice for this pattern. Also go ahead to mark your waist circumference divided by 4, and I'll add my sewing allowance. Now you want to go ahead to place your ruler and connect from your chest line to your bust, to your under bust, and to your waist. Now this pattern at the back cut through, at the front cut through the under bust. So also for the back pattern I will be cutting that through too, to have that under bust. So to take out the zipper pouch, I'll come in by ½ inch. Now I'll be extending this all the way to the upper part of my pattern, and I'll go ahead to connect. So I'll just go ahead and replace this, and I'll go ahead to cut this. Remember, this is the shoulder to the bust area, and from here is the under bust to the waistline of this pattern. Now I'll be having 2 patterns for that of the back, which I'll go ahead to join up. So we'll be having the same thing at the front, but the only thing is that the front has a cut, so which I'll still do. Now this is what I have. This is the upper part and this is the down part. Now you can decide to also cut it out as one piece. So now let's go ahead to cut out the front pattern. Now this is for the front pattern. I went ahead to mark my shoulder to bust, under bust, and waistline just like we did for the front. And here at the front part I marked my armhole curve. I came in by ½ inch, connected it here, then connected it to my bust circumference divided by 4. Right now here is my nipple to nipple line, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2 will give me 3.5 because my pattern is on fold. Now the next step you want to take is to go ahead to mark your basic dart. I'll be using a basic dart intake of ½ inch. Now I'll go ahead to come down by 1 inch from my bust area, and I will connect. Now if you look at that dress, it's as if it has a cut there, but if you don't want, you can just go ahead to cut out your pattern as a dartless pattern. Now I will just go ahead to connect on each side of my pattern this way. Sorry, the lines, I have double lines here. So now what I will do is to go ahead to insert my body measurement, which I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 here. and I'll add my sewing allowance. Now I'll go ahead and mark my waist circumference, my underbust circumference divided by 4 here, and I'll measure this little dart intake. I'll cut out, replace it, then add my sewing allowance. Here you want to mark your waist circumference divided by 4, measure this dart intake of 1 inch, replace, and then add your sewing allowance. You can use any sewing allowance of your choice. Now I'll go ahead to connect and also connect this down. So now at this point you can decide to leave this pattern at your chest line, but if you feel it's too low, you can go ahead to connect it. Take it all the way up and then connect it back. But whatever we have here is not too high from the chest line of the pattern. Now you're going to mark out the underbust area, because you're going to cut this pattern into 2 different areas, right? And now I'll go ahead to cut. So after cutting this, we're going to cut out our sleeve. Now you can go ahead to cut this out. Let's say you don't want to cut out and join your pattern, you can cut it as a dartless pattern, where you just blend out your darts this way and blend out this little dart, place and cut out on your dress. But if not, go ahead to blend out this pattern as one piece. For this part, there's no dart sewing, so you can decide to cut out the dart or blend it out. Now for this part, you can decide to blend it out or cut out the pattern and join it, because it looks like there's a joining on these parts, right? And this is what you'll be having for your pattern. So for the sleeve, you're just going to make your straps for the sleeve and attach the iron. So you can actually get that in the market. You can get it where they sell appliques, sorry. So now we're going to cut the flap part of this dress. And another thing you need to have in mind is that the flap part is cut into 2, the front and back, because there's a pocket at the side of this dress. So for the flap part, I'll be using this pattern paper. Now I will not be using the exact size of my body, because I can't do that on a pattern paper. And the flap they use for the dress is a 180-degree flap. Now all you have to do is to fold your pattern this way. Now after folding your pattern this way, you're going to cut the front separate and the back separate. Now my waistline is 28 inches divided by 2, you have 14. That is 14 for the front, 14 for the back. But if you're cutting for the back, you will not use 14. You have to like add extra 1 inch on it. That is for the zipper allowance of the back, right? For the front, I'm using 14, but if you're cutting the back, you have to use like 16, so that when you slit it into 2, you have a zipper allowance for each side. Now what you do is that your waistline for the front, which is 14, that I've already divided, I'll divide it into 2 again. What it will now give me is 7, because I'm cutting my pattern on fold. Now that 7 inches, you place it on your fabric. Go ahead to find where you have 7 inches on a straight line this way, like I have like 14.8 on a straight line. Now let's say it's 7 inches, and you mark. Now you're not using that exact 7 inches again, because you're going to add like a sewing allowance. So just the same way I'm adding a sewing allowance to the front, you also add a sewing allowance to the back of your dress, right? Now let's say that this is my waistline plus my sewing allowance. You have to place it on fold. Let's say if your waist is 14, you divide it by 2, you have 7. Then add a sewing allowance of 1 inch, which is 8. So let's say 8 inches is here. Now what you now do on this slanted line, place your tape this way and measure. That is 6.1 inches. Now this 6.1 inches, I'm going to take it all the way around, because I want to like give my skirts this curvy effect. I don't want to like have a straight cut. Now this is what I have. Now the remaining part of your skirt, which is the full length of your dress, let's say it's 50, and you minus 13 inches, 17 inches from it. Now the remaining part, you're going to place it on your skirt, right? And then mark the length. Let's say the remaining length is 10 inches. Now when you're marking this, you're not going to use that exact 10 inches. You're going to add like 1 inch for folding or weaving allowance and another half inch for joining allowance on the waist, which means you might use like 11 and a half. Add extra 11 and a half to, sorry, you might add extra 1.5 to the actual length of your dress, right? Now this is what your pattern will be looking like, and I'll go ahead to just cut it out. I'll just go ahead and cut it out, open it up and show you what my pattern looks like. So this is what it will be looking like. Now you place this on another pattern, then cut. When you're cutting, add extra 1 inch on this side so that it will serve as a zipper. Then go ahead to slit it into 2 for the back.